Stone towers reach for the sky, but their original purpose has vanished from history. Ancient civilizations dedicated generations of labor to build these colossal structures, yet we still cannot answer a simple, profound question. Why did they do it? You are about to embark on a global journey to uncover 25 of the world's most mysterious towers, from a stone giant in Ireland to a lost pyramid in the deserts of Sudan. We will explore why a prehistoric society built a tower before inventing pottery, and what secret might be locked inside an unopened Chinese tomb. By the end, you will possess a new understanding of humanity's most puzzling architectural legacies. What forgotten knowledge do you believe is hidden within these ancient stones? Scattered across the Irish landscape, over 60 slender stone fingers point silently toward the heavens. These are Ireland's round towers, monuments of such elegant simplicity that their true purpose seems to taunt us. Built between the 9th and 12th centuries, these structures are marvels of early medieval engineering. They rise to staggering heights, some over 100 feet tall, yet their walls are just a few feet thick, a testament to the skill of their unknown masons. Their most perplexing feature is the entrance, a single doorway positioned a full story above the ground, accessible only by a removable ladder. Why would anyone design a building you cannot easily walk into? Theories, of course, abound. Many historians propose they were bell towers, their conical stone caps perfect for amplifying the sound of a ringing bell across the monastic settlements they often accompany. Others argue they were watchtowers, their lofty heights offering a crucial vantage point to spot approaching danger. And the most dramatic theory suggests they were places of refuge during Viking raids, with monks hauling up the ladder and safe from plunderers below. Yet each of these practical explanations hits a wall when confronted by the tower's specific design. If they were simple bell towers, why the need for such an inaccessible, defensible entrance? If they were lookouts, why build them with such limited visibility from the inside? And if they were refuges, why is there so little evidence of people actually living inside them during attacks? The sheer number of them, often built at great expense by poor monastic communities, hints at a purpose far more profound than mere utility. Perhaps they were not just physical shelters, but spiritual ones, serving a symbolic function we have yet to fully comprehend. While Ireland's towers reach for the sky, another ancient civilization built downwards and inwards, creating labyrinthine fortresses of stone. Journey to the rugged island of Sardinia, where a different kind of mystery stands. These are the Nuraghe, colossal megalithic towers found nowhere else on Earth. Constructed by the Nuraghic civilization over a 1,000-year period, these structures are the defining feature of the Sardinian landscape. Unlike the simple, slender round towers of Ireland, a Nuraghe is a complex, multi-lobed fortress. The most impressive are not single towers, but central keeps surrounded by a web of additional bastions, interconnecting courtyards, and thick defensive walls. Step inside, and you find yourself in a world of corbelled domes, narrow internal staircases spiraling up through the thick walls, and hidden chambers. With over 7,000 of these structures dotting the island, the question of their purpose is unavoidable. Were they the castles of a warrior aristocracy designed to control the land and defend against rival clans? Their formidable walls and strategic positions on hilltops certainly support this idea. Yet many Nuraghe show no signs of prolonged conflict, leading other experts to suggest they were temples. Perhaps the dark, enclosed chambers were used for rituals connecting with ancestral spirits or earth deities. Another compelling theory points to the sky. Certain Nuraghe are aligned with solar and lunar events, suggesting they might have served as sophisticated astronomical observatories for a society deeply attuned to the cycles of the cosmos. The true genius of the Nuraghe may be that they were all of these things at once. They were likely the vibrant centers of their communities, serving as fortresses in times of danger, places of worship during ceremonies, and homes for chieftains during peace. The sheer scale of their construction, with some complexes using more stone than the Great Pyramids of Egypt, speaks of a powerful, organized, and incredibly skilled society. Yet we know almost nothing about them. They left no written records, only these 7,000 silent stone sentinels. Each one is a locked door, guarding the secrets of a civilization that mastered the art of building for both this world and the next. Long before the stonemasons of Ireland or the fortress builders of Sardinia, a different kind of tower rose from the earth. In the ancient city of Jericho, a massive stone structure was built around 8,000 years before the Common Era, making it one of the oldest towers in the world. This was not the work of a society with metal tools or written language. This was the pre-pottery Neolithic era, a time when humanity was just beginning to settle down to farm and to build permanent communities. Yet they undertook a project of staggering ambition. The Tower of Jericho stood nearly 30 feet tall, constructed from undressed stones weighing tons each, all hauled and stacked by hand. For a society that had not even invented pottery, the sheer scale of labor is almost unimaginable. Why would a small, early community dedicate generations of backbreaking work to erect such a colossal monument? The most practical theory suggests it was a defensive structure, part of a larger wall system designed to protect the settlement from enemies or perhaps from flooding. Its internal staircase, a marvel of prehistoric engineering, would have allowed sentries to climb to the top, but this explanation feels incomplete. Who were they defending against in such a sparsely populated world? The walls themselves are formidable, but the tower seems to project something more than pure defense. Another idea is that it served as a territorial marker, a permanent statement of a community's claim to the land and its precious water source. Perhaps its true purpose was not physical but psychological. Building such an immense structure would have required unprecedented social cooperation. The tower may have been the project that bound the community together, a symbolic center for their shared identity and beliefs. Some researchers even point to its possible alignment with the nearby mountains, suggesting it could have functioned as an early astronomical calendar, marking the summer solstice. The Tower of Jericho stands as a profound mystery from the dawn of civilization. It represents a spark of collective ambition, a declaration in stone that humanity was ready to reshape the world, even if the reason why is lost to us. Deep within a vast, silent necropolis in central China lies a tomb that holds one of history's greatest secrets. This is the final resting place of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor who unified China and left a legacy of both immense power and profound mystery. While the world marvels at his terracotta army, the true enigma lies beneath a massive, man-made burial mound, a pyramid of earth that has remained unopened for over 2,000 years. Surrounding this central tomb is a constellation of strange earthen towers, their purpose as carefully guarded as the emperor's own remains. These are not towers of stone, but of packed earth, rising from the landscape in a deliberate and complex arrangement. Their contents are completely unknown, as not a single one has been fully excavated, leaving us to speculate about what lies within their compacted cores. Why would an emperor who commanded such vast resources construct these enigmatic structures around his eternal resting place? One compelling theory suggests they are part of a cosmic map, a symbolic representation of his entire empire built for the afterlife. Each tower could represent a key province or a major city, allowing the emperor to rule his domain for all eternity from the center of this miniature world. Another idea posits that these were not symbolic at all, but intensely practical. They may have been the foundations for administrative palaces, filled with clay bureaucrats and scribes meant to serve the emperor in the next world, just as the terracotta army was meant to protect him. Or perhaps they were protective structures in a more mystical sense, forming a spiritual barrier against malevolent forces that might disturb the emperor's slumber. The most tantalizing possibility is that they are storehouses for the legendary treasures described by ancient historians, who wrote of palaces filled with pearls representing the stars and rivers of flowing mercury. The true answer is locked away, protected by the emperor's own decree and the reluctance of modern archaeology to disturb what may be a fragile, booby-trapped time capsule. The central tomb mound itself is a silent promise and a warning, a puzzle we can see but cannot solve, leaving us to forever wonder what secrets are sealed with China's first emperor. From the sealed tomb of a Chinese emperor, we travel to the sun-scorched plains of ancient Mesopotamia, where a different kind of sacred mountain reached for the gods. The great ziggurat of was not merely a building, it was a declaration in baked brick. Constructed in the 21st century before the Common Era by King Namu, this colossal structure was the heart of a city and the center of the universe for its people. It rose in 3 massive, solid tiers, each level a giant step closer to the heavens, all leading to a shining temple at its summit dedicated to Nana, the powerful moon god. This was the Axis Mundi, the literal bridge between the world of humans and the realm of the divine. The priests would ascend a grand triple staircase, a path reserved for the elite, to perform rituals in that high temple, ensuring the gods' favor and the continued order of the world below. Yet, for all its grandeur, the ziggurat's full story remains locked in its imposing form. Why was the temple itself so small and inaccessible to the common people, visible to all but entered by only a few? The precise nature of the ceremonies performed at that dizzying height is a matter of guesswork. Was it an offering to make the moon wax and wane, or a plea for the annual floods that fertilized their fields? This mystery only deepens when we look to the east, to the empire of Elam and its own stunning ziggurat at Chog-Azanbil. Built over 1,000 years after Ur's Great Tower, this complex was equally ambitious, a holy city centered around a massive 5-tiered ziggurat. It was so sacred that it was enclosed within 3 concentric walls, creating a spiritual labyrinth. Here, the builders left behind thousands of baked bricks, many stamped with cuneiform inscriptions, telling us the names of kings and gods. But these texts do not reveal the exact rituals, the chants, or the reasons for the structure's precise astronomical alignments. The ziggurat at Chog-Azanbil is meticulously oriented so its corners point to the cardinal directions, and its gates align with the sunrise on certain sacred days. This was clearly a celestial machine as much as it was a temple, yet we can only speculate on the meaning of these alignments. Were they meant to channel divine power, to mark the king's sacred time to rule, or to predict seasonal changes crucial for survival? The debate continues because a ziggurat was far more than a church. It was the economic and administrative core of the city, a symbol of royal power, and a cosmic clock all fused into one immense brick mountain. We see their physical majesty, but the echo of the prayers offered at their summits has faded into an eternal, silent question. The same impulse to build skyward gripped the far northern shores of Scotland, where the wind and sea carved a landscape as rugged as the people who called it home. Here in the Iron Age, a unique architectural form appeared, one found nowhere else in the world. These are the Brochs, towering drystone structures that still dot the Scottish coastline and islands. They are monuments of breathtaking simplicity and engineering genius. Imagine a hollow-walled tower, sometimes soaring to over 40 feet, built entirely without mortar. The Brochs' secret was its double-skinned wall, 2 concentric circles of carefully fitted stone with a gap between them filled with rubble. This design created a structure of incredible stability, resistant to the harsh Atlantic gales, while the air gap acted as natural insulation, keeping the interior warm in winter and cool in summer. A single, low entrance tunnel led into a central space that might have been open to the sky, with small chambers built into the massive thickness of the wall itself. But for whom was this formidable space built, and why? The most enduring theory is that they were defensive homesteads for an extended family and their livestock. In a time of frequent raids and tribal conflicts, a broch was a fortress you could live inside, its tall, windowless lower walls and single, easily defended entrance making it a daunting target. Yet other clues suggest a different story. Some brochs are located in areas with little apparent strategic value, and not all show clear signs of violent conflict. This has led scholars to propose they were primarily status symbols, the Iron Age equivalent of a castle, built by powerful chieftains to project their wealth and authority across the land. Their imposing silhouette on the skyline was a clear statement of power. Another practical idea is that they served as secure storehouses for valuable commodities like grain, salt, or crafted goods, protecting a community's wealth from both the elements and thieves. The truth is, we have no contemporary records from the people who built them. The brochs stand as silent sentinels, their original purpose blurred by the passage of 2,000 years. They were likely all these things at once, a versatile stronghold that provided safety, signaled status, and secured survival, all contained within a perfect circle of stone. Far to the south of Sardinia, on the sun-drenched island of Menorca, another Bronze Age culture raised its own silent stone giants. The Talaiots stand as the defining monuments of the ancient Talaiotic culture, massive towers built from colossal, rough-hewn blocks known as Cyclopean masonry. These structures possess a raw, elemental power, their sheer bulk a testament to the strength and organization of the people who built them. Step inside one of the larger Talaiots, and you encounter a truly unique feature, a massive, T-shaped central pillar of stone that rises from the floor to help support the roof. This distinctive architectural spine only deepens the mystery of their original function. What was the purpose of this powerful central pillar in a dark, enclosed space? One prominent theory casts the Talaiots as vigilant watchtowers. Their strategic positions on high ground across the island would have provided commanding views of the coastline and interior, perfect for signaling between communities and warning of approaching seaborne raiders. The ability to control sight lines across the island would have been a tremendous advantage. Yet, another compelling idea suggests they were primarily social hubs, communal meeting places where the elders of the tribe would gather to make decisions, settle disputes, and reinforce social bonds. The large, open interior space organized around that central pillar would have been ideal for such assemblies, a physical anchor for the community itself. A third, more spiritual theory proposes a ritualistic or funerary purpose. Perhaps these imposing structures were houses for the dead or sacred spaces for communicating with ancestral spirits, with the T-shaped pillar serving as a symbolic world tree or axis connecting the earth to the heavens. The greatest challenge for archaeologists is the profound silence within these towers. Unlike other ancient sites, Talaiots have yielded very few everyday artifacts, tools, or remains. This scarcity of objects offers frustratingly few clues about the daily activities that took place inside their walls. Without the litter of daily life, we are left to read the architecture itself, a language of stone that stubbornly refuses to give up its final meaning. Were they fortresses, town halls, or temples, the Talaiots of Menorca stand as a powerful reminder that sometimes the most enduring mysteries are not about what we find, but about what we cannot find. The ambition to build a tower that could touch the heavens finds its most famous expression not in stone and mortar, but in myth and scripture. The Tower of Babel, as told in the book of Genesis, is a story that has echoed for millennia. It describes a united humanity speaking a single language who decide to build a city with a tower whose top would reach the heavens. Their stated goal was to make a name for themselves and to avoid being scattered across the earth. This was not merely a construction project, it was a direct challenge to the divine order. In response, the biblical account tells us a displeased deity confounded their speech, creating a babel of languages that forced them to abandon their city and scatter across the world. The tower itself was left as a monument to human hubris. While the story is a powerful legend, historians and archaeologists have long searched for a historical core within it. The description of a massive stepped tower built from baked bricks with bitumen for mortar is a perfect match for the great ziggurats of Mesopotamia, like the one at Ur. These real-world structures were, in essence, man-made mountains designed to bridge the gap between earth and sky. The story of Babel, then, can be seen as a theological interpretation of this very real architectural ambition. It transforms the physical act of building a ziggurat into a profound moral drama. Why has this particular myth captivated us for so long? It speaks to a universal human tension, the drive to achieve greatness versus the fear of overstepping our bounds. The tower represents the ultimate expression of human collaboration and technological prowess, while its failure serves as an eternal warning about the dangers of pride. The mystery of the Tower of Babel is not about its physical blueprint, but about its symbolic power. It is the story of a structure whose primary purpose was to challenge the cosmos itself, a mystery that asks us where the line lies between glorious ambition and unforgivable arrogance. The Minoans of ancient Crete built palaces that were not fortresses but vibrant, open centers of life. Within the sprawling complex of Knossos, archaeologists uncovered the foundations of strange, tower-like structures that defy easy classification. These were not the imposing defensive keeps of later castles. They were often relatively slender, freestanding buildings positioned at the edges of the palace grounds, some with curious features like sunken floors or basins. Their design suggests a purpose far removed from repelling invaders. Given the Minoans' apparent maritime dominance and their lack of massive defensive walls, what urgent need did these towers serve? One compelling theory paints them as vigilant watchtowers, but with a very specific focus. Positioned to command views of the distant sea, they could have been early warning posts, not for enemy armies, but for the approach of trading vessels or, more ominously, for tsunamis. The Minoan civilization was profoundly tied to the sea, and a tower offering a few precious extra minutes of warning could have meant the difference between profit and disaster. Another idea elevates their function to the spiritual. Perhaps these were religious shrines dedicated to a deity of the sea. The presence of basins or sunken areas might indicate spaces for libations or ritual purification, a sacred interface between the palace and the powerful, unpredictable ocean that sustained them. The most captivating hypothesis suggests they were the world's first lighthouses. Imagine a fire blazing at the top of such a tower at night, its light reflecting off polished bronze mirrors, casting a guiding beam across the dark waters to shepherd ships safely into port. This would have been a brilliant technological feat, a beacon of commerce and safety that perfectly suits the sophisticated, seafaring Minoan identity. Yet, the peaceful reputation of the Minoans makes the watchtower theory feel slightly out of place. If they had no great fear of land-based invasion, why watch the sea so intently unless it was for commerce or natural phenomena? The mystery of the Minoan towers is a puzzle of priorities. Were they spiritual antennas, practical navigational aids, or silent sentinels against a threat from the deep? Their true purpose remains submerged, like the lost continent they once ruled. Across the ocean in ancient Peru, the Moch people built a monument of staggering scale, the Huaca del Sol. This was not a pyramid of stone, but a colossal mountain of sun-dried mud bricks, a testament to a different kind of architectural genius. It is one of the largest adobe structures ever built in the Americas, a towering platform that once dominated the Moch capital. The sheer volume of labor is almost incomprehensible, with estimates suggesting over 100 million individually molded bricks were used in its construction. We can imagine the vast, flat summit not as a pointed peak, but as a sprawling stage high above the city, a place for powerful, unseen dramas to unfold. Most experts agree this great platform served as the administrative and ceremonial heart of the Moch state. the physical seat of a god-like ruler who governed both the spiritual and political realms. Yet, the exact nature of the ceremonies performed on that high platform is a secret the Huaca del Sol has kept. Was it the setting for lavish feasts that cemented the ruler's power? Did it host elaborate rituals to honor the gods of the mountains and the sea? The mystery only deepens when we look to its companion, the smaller but exquisitely decorated Huaca de la Luna, or Pyramid of the Moon. Why did the Moch build two such massive, complementary structures so close together? The Huaca de la Luna is famous for its polychrome murals depicting deities and its evidence of complex sacrificial rituals. This has led to a compelling theory that the two Huacas represented a sacred duality, the sun governing the living world and the moon presiding over the spiritual realm of sacrifice and ancestry. They may have functioned as a single, vast ceremonial complex where the cycle of power, life, and death was ritually performed for the entire community to witness. Tragically, we may never know the full story. The Spanish conquest led to catastrophic looting as treasure seekers diverted a river to erode the side of the Huaca del Sol, washing away entire sections in their search for gold. This act destroyed untold amounts of archaeological evidence, obliterating the context that could have explained the precise relationship between the two towers and the true meaning of the rituals that united them. The Huaca del Sol now stands as a partially gutted giant. Its grand purpose has eroded as its own bricks, a silent witness to a civilization whose most profound secrets were washed away by the waters of greed. While the Moch built with sun-dried earth, another ancient society constructed a tower of breathtaking precision from marble. In the heart of Athens, nestled within the Roman agora, stands the elegant Tower of the Winds. This beautiful octagonal structure, built in the 1st century before the Common Era, is a masterpiece of merged function and form. Each of its 8 sides precisely faces a cardinal or intercardinal direction, and each is carved with a relief of a winged wind god representing the 8 ancient winds. But this was far more than a decorative monument. It was one of the ancient world's most advanced public timepieces. Its sides were adorned with multiple sundials, allowing citizens to tell the time by the sun's moving shadow. Inside, a complex water clock, a clepsydra, used a steady flow of water to measure time on cloudy days and through the night. And crowning it all was a bronze weather vane in the form of a sea monster, spinning to show the direction of the prevailing wind. Here, the mystery is not what it did, but why it was built with such grandeur in this central public space. The practical functions are obvious, yet the level of investment and architectural sophistication suggests a purpose that transcended simple timekeeping. Was this tower a civic gift, a public service for the merchants and citizens of the agora, allowing them to coordinate their business and daily lives with unprecedented accuracy? Or did it serve a deeper, almost philosophical role? This was Athens, the birthplace of philosophy and science. The tower may have been a physical manifestation of the Greek pursuit of order, a way to tame the chaos of time and weather by measuring them, bringing the cosmic forces of the heavens down to a human scale. Its location in the agora, the bustling center of Athenian commercial and social life, implies it was meant for everyone. The mystery lies in its silent ambition. It asked a profound question of its society, a question we still grapple with today. What is the relationship between the time we measure and the time we live? While the Greeks built towers to measure the winds, another ancient civilization mastered the wind itself to defy the desert heat. Across the arid plains of ancient Persia, strange domed structures rose from the earth, each crowned with a distinctive conical tower. These are the Yakchuls, and they were not temples or tombs, but something almost magical for their time, sophisticated refrigerators. The engineering behind them is a stroke of genius. The main storage area was a large, underground chamber, insulated with a special mortar called sarouge that was resistant to heat transfer. But the key to the entire system was that tall, chimney-like tower rising above. It was designed to catch any passing breeze, which would then funnel down into the structure. As the hot, dry desert air descended, it would come into contact with the cool air trapped in the underground space or with water channels from an underground aqueduct known as a canat. This contact caused rapid evaporation, and as the moisture turned to vapor, it drew heat out of the interior, creating a powerful cooling effect. The vented air, now cooler and heavier, would sink, creating a continuous cycle that could maintain below freezing temperatures even during the scorching summer months. Inside these earthen giants, the Persians could store ice brought down from the mountains in winter, and even make ice during cool nights, preserving food and creating chilled treats for royalty. The mystery of the Yakchul is not what it did, that much is clear. The true enigma is how a society over 2,000 years ago developed such a profound understanding of thermodynamics and evaporative cooling. This was not a simple ice house, it was a carefully engineered climate control system. How did they perfect the precise angles of the tower and the composition of the insulating walls without the tools of modern science? This knowledge represents a lost pinnacle of ancient environmental engineering, a sustainable solution crafted entirely from earth, water, and wind. In an age before electricity, they achieved a form of comfort and preservation that would not be matched for centuries. The silent, conical towers of the Yakchul stand as a testament to a different kind of human ambition, not to reach the heavens but to tame the very elements of our world. Far to the south, in the heart of southern Africa, a civilization of stoneworkers erected a city that would become the namesake of a modern nation. Great Zimbabwe, flourishing between the 11th and 15th centuries, was a center of immense wealth and power, its legacy carved into the very walls of its sprawling stone complexes. Within the most awe-inspiring of these, the Great Enclosure, stands a tower of profound mystery. It is a solid, conical structure, painstakingly built from precisely fitted granite blocks rising over 30 feet into the air. This is not a hollow tower you can enter or climb. It is a solid mass of stone, a silent, immovable object at the heart of a vast circular labyrinth. Its very form defies the practical explanations we so often reach for. It could not have been a lookout, as there is no interior. It could not have been a residence or a storage room. It was built for a purpose that was purely symbolic, a permanent statement whose meaning we can only guess at. One of the most enduring theories is that it was a symbolic grain silo. In a kingdom whose wealth was built on cattle and agriculture, a monumental representation of a granary would have been a powerful declaration of the king's ability to provide for his people, a stone embodiment of prosperity and economic stability. Yet, other scholars point to the heavens, suggesting the tower served as an astronomical marker, its position and shadow perhaps used to track the seasons vital for planting and harvest. A third and very different interpretation sees it as a religious symbol, a potent phallic representation of fertility and royal power, connecting the earth to the generative forces of the cosmos. The frustrating and fascinating truth is that there is no consensus. Each theory fits some of the evidence, yet none fully captures the tower's essence. It stands as the centerpiece of the entire site, an undeniable focal point of spiritual and political life, yet it gives up none of its secrets. The conical tower of Great Zimbabwe is a perfect paradox, an immense physical presence whose true significance remains completely intangible, a monument to a king's power that has outlasted his name, but not the mystery of his reign. A different kind of fusion defines the skyline of Teruel in Spain. Here, soaring brick towers are not monuments to a single faith, but to a remarkable cultural conversation. These are the Mudejar Towers, built in the 13th century during the long and turbulent period known as the Reconquista, when Christian kingdoms were gradually reclaiming the Iberian Peninsula from Islamic rule. At first glance, they are the bell towers of Christian churches, their purpose clear and unambiguous, yet to look at them is to see a world of contradiction and harmony. They are clad in stunning geometric patterns of brick and shimmering glazed tiles in azure, green, and white, forming stars, interlacing bands, and intricate arabesques that are purely Islamic in their artistic vocabulary. This creates a profound mystery, not of purpose but of identity. In an era often portrayed as a simple clash of civilizations, why would a triumphant Christian kingdom employ the aesthetic of the culture it was supposedly defeating? Who were the artisans that built them? The most compelling theory is that they were Muslim craftsmen known as mutijars who continued to live and work under Christian rule. Their unparalleled skill with brickwork and ceramic tile was simply irreplaceable, but this practical explanation only leads to deeper questions. Were these artisans given free rein to decorate these Christian monuments as they saw fit, embedding their own cultural and spiritual symbols into the very fabric of the city? Or were they working under strict Christian supervision, creating a style meant to symbolize the dominance of the new order by appropriating the beauty of the old? Every swirling pattern and star-shaped tile is a piece of an unsolved puzzle. Do the repeating geometric motifs, which avoid any representation of living forms in accordance with Islamic tradition, secretly encode messages of perseverance and faith for a subjugated community? Or were they seen by the Christian patrons merely as the most beautiful and modern style available, a symbol of their own sophistication and power? The Towers of Terul stand as a silent testament to a society far more complex than our history books often allow. They are not declarations of pure victory, but permanent, beautiful questions made of brick and tile, asking us to reconsider what we think we know about the lines between faith, culture, and art. South of Egypt, along the fertile banks of the Nile, a rival kingdom built pyramids that challenge our very definition of the form. These are the Nubian pyramids of the Kingdom of Kush, and they possess a character all their own. Far more numerous than the pyramids of Egypt, they rise from the desert with a strikingly steep and narrow profile. Their sides angled so sharply they appear to be spears thrust into the earth by the gods themselves. Built as tombs for the kings and queens of Kush, their design is an immediate and dramatic departure from the more gradual slopes of their Egyptian cousins. This was not a simple imitation, but a bold declaration of a distinct identity. Why would this powerful civilization, which once even ruled Egypt as its pharaohs, choose to reinvent such a sacred architectural symbol? The answer may lie in the very essence of their power. The steep angle could have been a deliberate statement, a way to differentiate their royal monuments and assert their unique cultural sovereignty, even as they operated within the broader sphere of Egyptian influence. This architectural evolution reaches its zenith at the royal necropolis of Nuraghe. Here, over 200 pyramids stand in clusters across the sandy ridges, a breathtaking forest of stone points against the sky. While they served as royal tombs, the true mystery is not their function, but the world they contain. Each pyramid is accompanied by a small, distinct chapel built directly against its eastern face. These chapels are the key to unlocking a lost belief system. Their walls were once covered with elaborate relief carvings, depicting the rulers they entombed in vivid scenes of power and piety. We see them smiting their enemies, making offerings to gods, and being anointed by deities who are a unique blend of Egyptian and purely Kushite figures. The mighty lion god Unopened, a distinctly Kushite deity, stands alongside Osiris and Isis. This fusion suggests a profound spiritual synthesis. The chapels were not merely decorative. They were active sites of ritual, places where the living could commune with the divine power of the deceased ruler, who was believed to act as an intermediary for the entire kingdom. But what specific rituals were performed there? The carvings give us scenes, but not the script. Were they loud, celebratory feasts or silent, solemn prayers for the king's journey? The chapels hold the clues, but the full ceremony remains just out of reach. Even the contents of the tombs themselves are a subject of intense speculation. Unlike the massive stone sarcophagi of Egyptian pharaohs, the Kushite royalty were often laid to rest on wooden beds, a practice deeply rooted in their own Nubian traditions. The tombs were filled with intricate jewelry, weapons, and pottery, but the exact nature of the funerary rites, the spells spoken, and the offerings left to sustain the soul in the afterlife are lost to us. The shift in pyramid style from the broader Egyptian form to the sharp, aggressive Nubian profile, combined with the evidence from the chapels, paints a picture of a civilization confidently remaking the symbols of power in its own image. The pyramids of Meroe are not faded copies. They are the stone embodiment of a kingdom that absorbed its neighbors' ideas, then fused them with its own indomitable spirit to create something entirely new, a legacy written in steep angles and silent chapels, waiting for us to learn how to read it. High on a barren hilltop stands a stark, circular wall, an arena for a final ritual that challenges our deepest instincts about death. These are the Zoroastrian Towers of Silence, known as dakmas, and they represent one of the most profound and misunderstood architectural forms ever conceived. Their function is no mystery. It was deliberately public. The dead were carried to these raised, open-air structures and laid out on a central stone platform, exposed to the sun and to scavenging vultures. The flesh would be swiftly consumed, and the sun-bleached bones later collected into a central ossuary pit. For an outsider, this practice seems chilling, but the true mystery lies not in the act itself, but in the beautiful and intricate logic that demanded it. Why would a great and ancient faith choose such a dramatic method of excarnation? The answer is a testament to a world you built on profound reverence. Zoroastrianism holds the elements of earth, fire, and water as sacred, embodiments of the divine creation that must be kept pure from the corruption of death. Burial was seen as a contamination of the sacred earth. Cremation was an unholy defilement of fire and the atmosphere. Water burial polluted the rivers and seas. The Towers of Silence provided the only logical solution, a way to return the body to the cycle of nature without tainting the holy elements. Vultures, in this context, were not symbols of decay, but sacred agents of purification, performing a necessary and efficient service for the community. The architecture itself is a direct expression of this belief. The circular wall ensured privacy and dignity, while the raised, open design maximized exposure to the sun and sky, facilitating the swift and clean work of the natural world. The central pit, where the dried bones were eventually placed, was often lined with charcoal and sand to filter the final remains, one last act of purification. The mystery for us today is not how they worked, but the immense spiritual discipline required to see death not as an end to be memorialized in stone, but as a final act of ecological and religious duty. The Towers of Silence stand as perhaps the ultimate example of a structure whose form was dictated entirely by faith, a chilling yet deeply respectful architecture designed not for the living, but for the sanctity of the world itself. Yet the Talaiots of Menorca are not the only stone giants keeping their secrets. Scattered in their shadows are even more enigmatic structures, the Taulas. These are monuments of stark, almost elemental simplicity, yet their design is utterly unique in the ancient world. Picture a massive, monolithic vertical stone slab standing over 12 feet tall, crowned by a second, equally immense horizontal capstone, forming a perfect, colossal letter T. The engineering required to lift and balance these multi-ton stones with prehistoric technology is staggering in itself. But the greater, more profound challenge is understanding why they did it. The purpose of the Taulas remains one of the most stubborn and captivating mysteries in all of Mediterranean archaeology. What powerful need drove this culture to create such precise and imposing forms? One theory, drawn from ancient accounts of other cultures, suggests they were altars for animal sacrifice. The large, flat capstone could have served as a ritual table, with the central pillar channeling the blood of offerings downward into the earth, a gift to chthonic deities or ancestral spirits. Some excavations around Taulas sites have revealed deposits of animal bones and ash, lending a grim plausibility to this idea. A second compelling line of thought points to the sky. Several Taulas are aligned with specific celestial events. At the site of Toralba den Salord, for instance, the central T-shaped structure is framed by the entrance of a cave during the winter solstice sunset. This precise alignment suggests the Taulas could have functioned as sophisticated astronomical observatories, their stark silhouettes acting as giant sighting devices to mark the turning of the seasons, crucial for agriculture and religious ceremony. Then there is the most intriguing theory of all, one that hints at a forgotten cult. A number of small bronze horse and rider figurines have been found near these monuments. This has led some scholars to propose that the Taulas were the central shrines of a religion centered on the horse, an animal of immense prestige and power. The T-shape itself could be abstractly seen as a horse and rider, or as a symbolic gateway through which divine power flowed. Yet for every theory there is a counterpoint. The evidence is always just fragmentary enough to prevent a definitive conclusion. Were they temples for sacrifice, cosmic calendars, or the heart of a horse cult? The silent, brooding Taulas offer no confirmation, standing as permanent, unanswered questions carved from the living rock of Menorca. The line between history and myth becomes beautifully blurred on a windswept headland in northern Spain. Here stands the Tower of Hercules, an ancient Roman lighthouse that has cast its beam across the Atlantic for nearly 2,000 years. It is the only lighthouse from the classical world that remains fully operational today, a living monument whose function is known, yet whose origins are wrapped in layers of legend. The Romans built it in the 1st century, a masterwork of engineering with a square base leading to an octagonal upper level, a design so sound that its core structure has endured the relentless assault of salt and storm for countless generations. But why has this one tower survived when so many others crumbled into ruin? Its longevity is the first part of the mystery. Was it simply built with superior Roman skill? Or was it maintained so diligently because it occupied a site already considered sacred long before the legions arrived? This is where the legend begins. Ancient stories speak of a hero, Hercules, who fought and defeated the giant Jericho on this very spot. After his victory, he buried the giant's head and commanded that a city be founded here. The name of that city, Coruña, is said to derive from the word for crown, a crown placed upon the landscape to mark this heroic feat. The tower itself was seen for centuries as the monument Hercules erected over his fallen foe. This is more than just a colorful tale. The persistent myth points to a deeper, hidden history. Archaeological investigations around the base of the tower have revealed evidence suggesting the Romans may not have been the first to build here. There are tantalizing clues, fragments of pottery and structural remains that hint at a possible Phoenician predecessor. The Phoenicians were the great mariners of the ancient Mediterranean, masters of trade and exploration who established outposts along the Atlantic coast. It is entirely plausible they built a navigational beacon on this crucial headland long before the Romans. If true, the Roman tower was not a new creation, but a grand reconstruction on a site already hallowed by time and seafaring tradition. The Tower of Hercules, then, is a palimpsest of human ambition. Its light is a continuous thread connecting the pragmatic Romans, the mysterious Phoenicians, and the mythical Hercules in a single, unbroken beam. It asks us a profound question. Does a structure's true power come from its physical function or from the stories we tell about it? This operational lighthouse is a living bridge, a place where the practical need to guide ships home meets the eternal human desire to touch the world of heroes. High in the Bolivian Andes, a mountain ridge has been carved into a sprawling architectural dream. This is El Fuerte Samapota, a site where an entire civilization's worldview is etched into a single, massive sandstone outcrop. You are not looking at a constructed tower, but a mountain that was transformed into one, its surface covered with a labyrinth of channels, perfectly carved niches, and the foundations of structures that have long since vanished. The sheer scale of the carving is breathtaking, a testament to generations of labor dedicated to reshaping the living rock itself. This complex is a palimpsest of cultures, bearing the marks of both the pre-Inca Chane people and the later Inca Empire, who each saw a unique potential in this sacred space. The central mystery of El Fuerte is not about one building, but about the entire site's soul. Was this a fortress, its high, defensible position offering a strategic command of the valleys below? The name El Fuerte, meaning the fort, suggests this, yet the intricate, delicate carvings seem to tell a different story. Perhaps it was primarily a ceremonial center, a place where the boundary between the earth and the spiritual realm was at its thinnest. The complex networks of channels, some zigzagging in patterns reminiscent of lightning bolts, could have been used for ritual libations, guiding sacred liquids like chicha or blood in symbolic pathways across the rock. Then there are the clear foundations of what were once tower-like structures. These stumps of stone, arranged in precise formations, are the ghosts of the original complex. Their positions are not random. Many researchers believe they formed part of a sophisticated astronomical observatory. Certain alignments correspond with the rising and setting of the sun during the solstices and equinoxes, while others may have tracked the movements of important stars. One prominent theory suggests that a specific throne-like carving served as a sighting device, allowing a priest astronomer to watch celestial bodies rise over particular towers or niches on the horizon, marking sacred dates with unerring accuracy. The carvings themselves are the cryptic codex of this place. Alongside the geometric channels are carvings of felines, serpents, and other powerful animals, symbols deeply embedded in Andean cosmology. Do they represent constellations or perhaps guardian spirits of the site? The zigzag channels could map the path of lightning, a potent force associated with Elam, the god of weather, or they might symbolize the serpentine flow of water, the source of all life. The true purpose of El Fuerte de Samipata likely wove all these functions together. It was probably a fortress when needed, a temple during ceremonies, and a calendar for the agricultural year. The mountain itself was the ultimate tower, a bridge between the earthly plane and the cosmos, its silent carvings holding a meaning we can only glimpse, a language of stone and sky that we have not yet learned to speak. Far to the east, in the vast expanse of the Russian steppe, a different kind of circular fortress holds secrets not of war, but of cosmic order. This is Archaim, an ancient settlement so enigmatic it has earned the name the Russian Stonehenge. Built during the Bronze Age, this was not a simple village. It was a perfectly planned circular complex with two concentric circular walls separated by a street and a central plaza that was utterly empty, save for what some researchers believe was a square, tower-like structure at its very heart. The entire settlement was a single, integrated architectural machine, with every house built into the outer wall, each one opening onto both the inner street and the outer world. This was a community designed with a profound, almost mathematical sense of unity. But what was the purpose of this precise, circular design, and what stood in that mysterious central space? The theories surrounding Archaim are as wide-ranging as the steppe itself. The most compelling idea is that it was a sophisticated astronomical observatory. The layout of the settlement, with its specific gates and sightlines, appears to be aligned with key celestial events. It is suggested that an observer standing in the central square could track the movements of the sun, moon, and stars with remarkable accuracy, using the walls and buildings as a giant circular calendar. This would have been vital for a pastoral society, dictating the timing of planting, harvest, and seasonal migrations. Another theory posits that this was primarily a spiritual center, a place where the circular walls represented the cosmos and the empty center was a sacred precinct, a conduit for divine energy where rituals connected the community to the heavens. The presence of evidence for advanced metallurgy adds another layer. Archaim may have been a major metalworking hub, its centralized design allowing for the control and distribution of valuable bronze tools and ornaments. The heat and fire of the forges could have been imbued with spiritual significance, a transformative power that mirrored the cycles of the sky. Yet, the interpretation of Archaim is shrouded in modern controversy. The site has been adopted by various groups, from nationalists who see it as a cradle of ancient Slavic civilization to esoteric believers who consider it a powerhouse of spiritual energy or even a landing site for ancient astronauts. This blending of archaeology with modern myth makes it incredibly difficult to separate the stone foundations from the stories built upon them. The true mystery of Archaim is not just what happened within its circular walls 4,000 years ago, but why this particular ruin continues to capture our imagination so powerfully, becoming a blank screen onto which we project our deepest desires for ancient wisdom and lost origins. Water is the source of life, and in the arid deserts of ancient Yemen, one civilization mastered its flow with a structure of breathtaking ambition. The Great Dam of Marib was the crowning achievement of the Sabaean kingdom, a marvel of engineering that transformed a barren landscape into a fertile paradise for over 1,000 years. This was not a single, simple wall, but a complex hydrological network, a system of dikes, canals, and precisely calibrated sluice gates that required an almost supernatural understanding of water pressure, seasonal flow, and soil mechanics. The dam itself was a monumental earth and stone embankment, but its true genius was expressed in the smaller, enigmatic towers that stood guard over its water channels. These structures were the nerve centers of the entire operation, yet their exact role remains a subject of intense debate. Were they the fortified offices of the water administrators, the powerful officials who decided which farms would drink and which would wither, their control over the life-giving resource translating directly into political power? Could they have been shrines dedicated to Olmaka, the mighty moon god who was believed to command the rains and the flow of the great wadis? Offerings made in these towers would have been a direct plea for the dam's continued endurance and the annual floods that filled its reservoirs. Another possibility is that they were highly visible markers in a system of water distribution, their positions indicating specific shares of water allotted to different tribes or agricultural sectors, turning abstract allocation into a permanent physical fact on the landscape. The greatest mystery is not the dam's collapse, but its longevity. How did the Sabaean engineers, working 2,500 years ago, design a system that could withstand seasonal torrents and silt accumulation for centuries? They built not just with stone and mortar, but with a profound, accumulated wisdom of their environment, a knowledge so complete it allowed them to create an artificial river in the heart of a desert. The silent towers of Marib are the keys to this lost knowledge, standing as stone questions about the true nature of power in a world where controlling water meant controlling destiny itself. A king's final journey did not end with burial, but with a monumental act of remembrance. Across the plains of ancient Thrace, in what is now Bulgaria, the landscape is dotted with great earthen mounds known as tumuli. These are not mere piles of dirt, they are the foundations for a mystery that reaches for the sky. For atop many of these massive burial mounds stood elegant, temple-like towers known as heroines, shrines dedicated to the deified king who rested within. The tomb itself was underground, a hidden chamber, but its public face was this elevated structure, a permanent marker of power and belief visible for miles around. The most famous of these, the Kazanlak tomb, reveals just how profound this belief was. Its underground chamber is a masterpiece of artistry, its walls covered in breathtaking frescoes that depict the king and his queen in a tender, final farewell. But the scene is far more than a simple goodbye. It shows a ceremonial banquet, a chariot race, and a procession that feels both solemn and triumphant. This is the core of the mystery. What specific rituals of death and deification were performed in the heroine above, on that sacred high ground? The frescoes below are our only clues, and they hint at a complex philosophy of the afterlife that we can only partially decipher. The banquet suggests a final feast where the king was honored not as a corpse but as a living hero. The chariot race could symbolize his triumphant journey into the next world, a cosmic victory over death itself. The entire sequence seems to be a visual guide, a map for the soul's passage from mortal ruler to eternal, divine ancestor. But the precise chants, the exact offerings made by priests in the tower above, the moment the community truly accepted their king as a god, all of this is lost. The heroine itself is gone, weathered away by centuries, leaving only the great grassy mound. We are left with the stunning art in the sealed chamber below, a beautiful but silent film for which we have lost the soundtrack. The Thracian towers were a bridge between the world of the living and the realm of the gods, a place where a mortal man was transformed into an immortal power through ceremonies we can now only glimpse in the dark. Our journey ends not with a silent question, but with a ghost. Towering over the ancient city of Halicarnassus stood the mausoleum, a tomb of such staggering grandeur that its name became the word for any monumental final resting place. Built for Mausolus, a powerful Persian satrap, and his wife Artemisia around 350 years before the Common Era, this was one of the famed seven wonders of the ancient world. Its lower sections were a massive rectangular base clad in marble and sculptural reliefs, a monument whose purpose as a tomb was unambiguous. Yet it is the lost upper portion of the structure that haunts historians, a mystery built upon a pyramid in the sky. Ancient writers like Pliny the Elder described a towering colonnade supporting a steep, stepped pyramid of 24 levels, all crowned by a breathtaking finale, a colossal marble statue of Mausolus and Artemisia standing triumphant in a four-horse chariot. This chariot group, gleaming in the sun, would have been visible far out to sea, a final, dazzling statement of power. But what was the meaning of this incredible summit? The tomb itself was below, so why build a pyramid and a chariot so high above the earth? The pyramid may have been a symbolic staircase for the soul's ascent to the heavens, a common motif in ancient Near Eastern royalty. The chariot, however, is a far more personal and potent puzzle. Was it meant to show Mausolus as an eternal ruler, forever surveying his domain? Or was it a representation of the sun god Helios, whose daily journey across the sky in a chariot symbolized death and rebirth, tying the king's fate to the cosmic cycle? We will never know for certain. A series of earthquakes began the mausoleum's fall, and then in the 15th century, the Knights of St. John dismantled what remained to build a castle, systematically quarrying the wonder for its stone. They found the tomb chamber only to discover that grave robbers had already taken the king and queen. The magnificent chariot and its riders were shattered, the precise contours of the pyramid lost. Today, we have fragments, descriptions, and theories, but the mausoleum at Halicarnassus exists most powerfully as an absence. It is a ghost of white marble and ambition, a reminder that some of our greatest mysteries are not just about why things were built, but about the breathtaking beauty we can no longer see. From the ghost of the mausoleum, a pattern emerges from the dust. These 25 towers scattered across continents and millennia are not isolated curiosities. They are a chorus of stone, all singing variations of the same human song. Despite oceans and centuries separating their builders, they share profound architectural puzzles that hint at a shared blueprint in the human mind. One of the most powerful recurring themes is a celestial one. We see it in the Ziggurat of a staircase to the moon god, in the Taulas of Menorca framing the solstice sun, and in the circular observatory of Archaeum. Cultures with no possible contact all looked to the same sky and felt the same compulsion to build structures that could measure, honor, and perhaps even influence the cosmic cycles that governed their lives. The heavens were not a distant abstraction, they were a practical calendar and a divine presence, and the tower was the antenna to connect with them. Another thread that weaves through these mysteries is a deep, elemental connection to water and burial. The Great Dam of Marib used its towers to control the very source of life in the desert, while the Yaktuls of Persia mastered the wind to create ice. In stark contrast, the Towers of Silence and the Pyramids of Nuraghe were intensely concerned with the journey after death, one returning the body to the elements with reverence, the other sealing royalty for an eternal afterlife. This duality reveals a fundamental human focus on controlling the two most essential transitions, the sustenance of life and the mystery of what follows it. Even the building methods speak a universal language. The cyclopean masonry of the Nuraghe and the Talaiots, where massive, unworked stones are fitted together with impossible precision, appears in cultures from the Mediterranean to South America. This was not a primitive technique, but a chosen one, a way to create structures of immense permanence and raw power, as if the builders were trying to make their mountains as eternal as the natural ones. Why would societies from the Scottish coast to the Bolivian highlands, with no shared language or history, all reach for the sky? The answer lies in the very essence of the tower form. Building upwards is an act of defiance against obscurity. A tower is a landmark that can be seen for miles, a permanent statement that says we were here. It fulfills a triad of deep human impulses. The first is defense, the need for security and a vantage point, physically embodied in the Brochs and Nuraghe. The second is communication, not just between people with signal fires, but with the divine, a function clear in every ziggurat and heroine. And the third is simply the desire to leave a mark, to project power and identity across the landscape for generations to come. The conical tower of Great Zimbabwe did not need to be hollow to serve this purpose. Its solid mass was the entire point. These structures are the physical manifestation of humanity's most enduring ambitions, to be safe, to connect with something greater, and to be remembered. They are stone questions we keep asking ourselves, and their silent, collective answer is that we have always been a species that looks to the horizon and dreams of building something that will outlast us. So many towers, each a unique fingerprint left by a vanished hand. From the hollow spires of Ireland to the solid mass of Great Zimbabwe, their forms are as varied as the cultures that built them, yet they are all bound by a single, silent question. We can trace the stones, map the alignments, and theorize about defense or astronomy, but the true heartbeat of these places, the living intention that fueled their construction, remains just beyond our grasp. This is the beautiful frontier of archaeology, a reminder of how much history is written not in texts but in earth and stone, waiting for us to learn its language. These 25 structures are not merely ruins, they are monuments to the boundless creativity and spiritual drive that have always defined humanity. They prove that our ancestors were not primitive but profound, capable of envisioning and erecting wonders that continue to defy our modern explanations. Their enduring mystery is a gift, an invitation to keep questioning, to keep exploring. So we turn this final question over to you. After this journey across continents and centuries, what do you believe was the true purpose of these enigmatic towers? Was it to watch the stars, to honor gods, to defy death itself? Share your wildest theories in the comments below and subscribe to join us as we continue to unravel the greatest mysteries of our past.